Hey there, fellow classic comic collectors. As always, I'm Scott Harris King, and today is the day you've all been waiting for. Huddled around your computers, just refreshing over and over, has the classic comic collector uploaded the 1100 subscriber Ask Me Anything answers? Well, now I have. This is part one of two. I had a lot of questions. I'm going to break them up into smaller bits because, as you know, I can really ramble. I don't think anyone wants to watch another hour and a half video of me answering questions. So we're going to break this up into two parts. Real quick before I jump into this, I do have a new comic coming out on Kickstarter. It is Quest number 4, Epic Fantasy. I've got the link down below. That's going to be launching on September 23rd. But now we're going to jump into the questions. I'm going to start with the first questions asked. I'm going to go in reverse order from the oldest questions to the newest. And once again, thank you all for your support. To everyone who has been watching my channel and subscribing and liking these videos, I really appreciate it so much. And so I'm happy to answer your questions. So first question is from DAGR Cards. And the question is, will you shave your beard if I win since I am in Canada? Well, no. So the answer is no. This beautiful, luscious beard isn't going anywhere. I haven't shaved my beard off since 1999 was the last time. I was appearing as an extra in a small budget movie, and I needed to be clean shaven for that. But I started growing this like for finals, college finals in high school finals in 1992. So there's a brief window at the beginning of 99 where I had this shaved. Other than that, it's all beard all the time. So this isn't going anywhere. Sorry. I know everyone wants to see the beautiful, clean face, but you'll just have to imagine that. But thank you for the question and the support. I really appreciate it. Viz Gamer asks, what comics do you normally collect? Well, I do have about 500 videos showing the comics I normally collect, so I encourage you to watch all of them and like them all, and then watch them second time for the answer. But I'm also going to answer the question. These days, the main things that I collect are romance, Archie, and whatever I find that's odd or weird. I'm currently on a kick where I'm trying to get all the Spire comics. I'm trying to get all of the Atlas comics from the 70s, that sort of thing. But when I'm at a store, anything that sort of jumps out to me as being unusual or odd. I've been collecting now for 40 years, so I love all comics. I love, superhero stuff is what I used to collect, of course, when I was younger. But I've kind of seen all that stuff. A lot of the superhero stuff, particularly, if it's Silver Age or newer, they're not that hard to find. So it's not to say they aren't cool, because they definitely still have a lot that are really cool. But they're not as interesting to me because I've seen them all so much. So if I see something that I haven't seen before, that's what I like to collect. But mostly romance, and romance adjacent stuff, like Archie, Barbies, whatever. So that's what I'm currently collecting. But thank you so much for the question. Yigurio, I don't know how to pronounce that, but it's like Yu-Gi-Oh, but with more R's. Yugurio asks, as a fellow Wonder Woman fan, what is your favorite issue from Golden Age, Silver Age, Bronze Age, and Marvel and Modern? Well, this is relatively easy to answer because I actually haven't read that many Golden Age. I really like the Wonder Woman 7, the one where she goes into the future and becomes president. There's the cover is the famous Wonder Woman for President cover. So I really like that one, but I haven't really read very many of her Golden Age stuff. I do really like H.G. Peters' art, actually. I know not everyone does, but I really like his art quite a bit. It's highly stylized, but it's okay with me. But I just haven't read that much. And in terms of Modern Age, honestly, I haven't read that much either. But I have read the other stuff because, really for me, I've talked a lot about this before, but I used to have all of the issues of Wonder Woman from the New Look era debuting up until the end of the Perez run. So from about 1969 to whatever that was, 92 or so, 91, 92, there's a block there of about 20, a little over 20 years where I had the full run. That's sort of the Wonder Woman that I'm most familiar with. So, in terms of modern age, I would consider the Perez run to be more Copper Age. But what I really like, the first 14 issues are really one storyline, and the heart of that is the story from issues 10 to 14 about Hercules. We also get the origin of Steve Trevor and explaining the connections between Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor's mother. So that, in terms of the modern, is probably my favorite. But I haven't read any of the newer stuff. In terms of the silver, like late silver and the Bronze Age stuff, Wonder Woman for most of that period was not very good. The issues that stand out to me is there's a issue 250, 251 was a two-parter where Wonder Woman, where Diana is defeated in the contest to see who's going to become Wonder Woman, and someone else takes over as Wonder Woman, and then it's one of these classic, like, we see why Diana has to be Wonder Woman. It's not the costume and the powers, it's Diana herself. That's a really good story, which of course they then basically redid after Perez left. There was like a 20-issue storyline that was just a really drawn-out retelling of that, but with much worse art. But the original is really good. And then there's this two-parter, and I'm blanking on the issue numbers, but it's around 182. In the New Look era, originally was being written by Denny O'Neil, but he only wrote the first few, like the first arc. And then when he left, Mike Stokowski, who was doing the art, took over as the writer. And the first issue that he did by himself, it was a two-parter where Paradise Island had been sent to another dimension and was gone. But Wonder Woman figured out how to like cross over there, and there was this whole like war going on over there. I think Ares was involved, and it was very much sort of like, you get a lot of the mythology, but it's Wonder Woman in her armor, and it's sort of like war Wonder Woman. Again, they did a lot of stuff later after sort of my end of my reading, but a lot of stuff later with her in the armor and her like in this more sort of like as the war leader mode. But that original story from way back in the late 60s during the when she didn't have any powers, that one's really good to me. Again, from issue like 178 to 329, the whole last decade and a half of the original series, that's the best story in it for me. So those would be my answers. Thanks so much for the question. Talked a little bit longer than I meant to about that, but those are my answers. Brad Bizanker, thanks Brad again for the support. I've got a box of comics coming to you. I was just packing it up earlier. Question, what's the one comic book character you wish you knew more about and why? That's a really good question, and also a little bit hard to answer. Let me think about this. Comic book character that I wish I knew more about. Well, I mean, I guess I would say Crime Buster. As you guys know, like, I have a complete run of Boy Comics from Lev Gleason, which features the character Crime Buster. And then I like the character so much that I brought the character back, right? And I have my series of Crime Busters, which are sort of where I picked up the continuity from the original series where it ended in 1956, and I'm continuing the stories. And I self-published those and whatever. There's a lot of questions that I have about the original run and exactly what was happening with it, because Charles Biro, who created the character, my understanding is that he was famously sort of protective. That was his pet character, was Crime Buster. And so all of the stories are credited to him, and all of the covers with Crime Buster on them have his signature on it. But there was definitely, from my understanding, a little bit of Bob Kane going on there in terms of, my understanding is a lot of those later covers and stuff were not actually drawn by Biro. He would have someone else do the cover art, and then he would redraw Crime Buster's face, so that almost like much later, like DC would do with Jack Kirby. They wanted to have the Superman face all look the same, so they had someone redraw all of Kirby's Superman faces. It was like that. Bureau would redraw Crimebuster's face so that it looked like it was his version of Crimebuster, and then he'd sign the cover because he drew that one little face on it. And I also have questions about the stories, because I've heard that he used ghost writers for some of the stories as well. And so there's a lot of questions for me about who's actually responsible for what, who was doing the art, who was doing the writing when it's credited to him. There are certain creative decisions that I don't really understand that I would really like to know more about, and it's impossible to find out about. So I guess that would be my question. Thanks very much for the question. Answer. Thanks for the question, Brad. I appreciate it. Silver Knight Kyle. Kyle, thanks as always for your support. I really appreciate all the support that you give me over the years. I know you're running out of questions, but you've got one here. Any chance of seeing a newly created bog monster to fight Crimebuster, Cthulhu, or whomever? Of course, you know the answer to that's going to be no. If I was going to use a bog monster, I'd just use the heap, because I like to use the public domain Golden Age characters. But as you know, and as a lot of my longtime viewers know, I can't stand bog monsters. These muck-encrusted mockeries of men. Can't stand any of them. Like, just tedious and boring and whatever. I don't like any of them. I don't like Swamp Thing. I don't like Man Thing. I don't like the Heap. I don't like, Bog Man or Bog Thing or Thing or Swamp Man. Whatever they are, I don't like them. So, no, there's no chance of that happening. If I was ever to do that, it would be explicitly to make fun of how stupid those characters are. But thank you for the question. Darren Smith has a question for me. Darren, thanks again for your support and your question. Did you ever think you would hit 1,100 subs? No. That's the short answer. I mean, at some point, when it's been 4.5 years since I started my channel, and at some point I could see the metrics and be like, okay, as long as I'm continuing to upload these videos, strangely enough, the views I get on the videos do not increase based on the number of subscribers I have. So I get the same number of views on my videos now as I did when I had 300 subscribers. I think that has to do with the way that YouTube shows people videos, that even though when you're subscribed to me, you have to go specifically to your tab to see the subscribed videos. It's not necessarily showing everybody the stuff I'm doing. But I could see that I was gaining a certain amount pretty much every month, give or take. There's some ups and downs, but for the most part, there's a steady, I'm going to gain X number of subscribers as long as I'm putting out the content. So there came a point where I realized, okay, I'm probably going to hit these numbers. But 1,100 is crazy. I never thought I would get to 1,000 subscribers. So obviously I want to keep getting more people because I like talking about comics. And so I'm hoping that more people will see the videos and, talk about comics with me. But, I didn't really expect to get this many. Thank you for your support and your question. I really appreciate it. Metarog, Roger, thanks for all your support. Again, I really appreciate it very much. Metarog says, curious as to what your favorite foods are and which you can't stomach at all. Well, perfect phrasing, because I have a lot of stomach issues that I've had for a long time. So I'm an overweight fellow, but also it seems to run in the family because my brother has a lot of problems with acid reflux and GERD and stuff. So I've had GERD. I've been taking pills for my stomach for almost 20 years now, since 2006. But my issues really began in the late 90s. So there's a lot of stuff I can't eat. The thing that I really miss is actually pasta, specifically tomato sauce. Now I do. Pizza is probably my favorite food, and so I'm able to eat pizza occasionally. I just can't have it every day. If I have it 2 days in a row, I'm gonna have stomach problems. If I have it just once and then wait for a while, it's okay. But what I found pretty early on is that tomato sauce for spaghetti, the acid level is actually higher than it is in pizza sauce, at least the way my body reacts. So I haven't been able to have anything with any pasta with tomato sauce for almost 20 years. And I can't have any carbonated beverages. So no soda, can't stomach that. So it's really not a matter of taste, it's a matter of what can I eat and what can't I eat. I have a pretty standard diet. Like I don't, I can't really experiment with food very much, so I don't. And I also just don't like cooking. I don't like spending the time. I don't even mind cooking. I just don't want to spend the time cooking when I could be doing something else, like talking about comic books. So I need things that I can prepare easily. So I've got like 6 or 7 meals that I kind of rotate around. Um, Pizza's my favorite, and I also like French fries. I'm a huge ketchup guy. For whatever reason, the acid in the ketchup doesn't seem to bother my stomach the way it does with tomato sauce. I can't have anything with onions. Um, Garlic, if there's a little bit of flavoring, I can usually get by, but it's dangerous for me to have much garlic, that sort of thing. So I have to kind of eat stuff on the blander side. But fries, pizza, classic Americana food. Those are sort of my favorite. I really like Mexican food as well, I should say. I'm big into chicken enchiladas, fajitas, that sort of thing. So I really like Mexican. It's probably my favorite like type of food, particularly because I really can't have. There's some things with Italian I can have, like things with like Alfredo sauce, stuff like that. But I'm kind of limited with Italian, so even though I really like Italian, I can't do that much with it. But with Mexican, it's a little bit easier. I've never liked hot sauce, so that's not a problem. I get just a little bit for flavoring, but I don't really do the hot sauce anyway. So yeah, hopefully I answered your question. Again, thank you so much. I've got a question here that's too complicated for me to answer without a little bit of research, but it's a great question. I'm actually going to save that for next time. So we're going to skip that one, and we're going to go to Jorge Gomez. Thank you for your support and your question and watching my videos, subscription, and all that. Jorge says, what comic character origin storyline do you consider the best? Good question. Really good question. There's some characters with some really bad origins, like Red Sonja, the classic Red Sonja origin, terrible. There's also characters that just have sort of like origins that are just whatever. But like there are some really good origin stories. I really like Doctor Strange. There's 2 different parts of this. There's like there's the story itself, and then there's the quality of the storytelling that's telling that origin. What I mean is like Doctor Strange's origin I really like. It's a really good story, but also the way it's told. Like the original origin in Strange Tales 115 with the Ditko, the way he does it, some of the art in that, it's fantastic. There's other ones where like the story's good, but it's like it depends on what telling you're reading, because sometimes the art's not as good or it's not as interesting. Like there have been some really good Batman origins over the years. The original origin is obviously it's sort of a classic. His parents get killed. He fights crime. I think the thing where the bat flies through the window and inspires him is kind of dopey. But obviously, if you're reading like a really good version of that origin, it's different than if you're reading like some of the Golden Age versions. Just the art's not that good. The storytelling's not that advanced yet. So I'm making a couple different distinctions. But Doctor Strange is the one that like immediately comes to mind as being like a good origin for the character. You get the motivation. Like he's a very complicated character immediately in just a space of like 6 or 8 pages. He's sort of a morally complex character where his origin is the redemption arc of him, all of that. But then the moody Ditko art is just so excellent that I gotta say that's probably top for me. At least right now as I'm thinking about it. But I'm gonna stop here for now. Next time around, I'm gonna have everyone else's questions, and let me know what you think down below, and I'll see you next time.